Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani and welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism. This is a channel where we take on toxic relationships in all kinds of ways. And for those of you who are interested in doing a deeper dive on healing, and this video is on healing, please go to the video notes, hit that link, and you'll be taken to some information about our healing program. But until then, let's take on this issue of what are the little ways in your life you can focus on healing? I'm going to give you a really simple one. Simply experiencing joy is literally a form of resistance, defiance against the narcissist, and in and of itself is healing. So let's take that on. So healing is such a tough game in narcissistic abuse. Again, that's why we even have this program. But let's talk about this further, because let me ask you this as a question. Does trying to survive narcissistic abuse feel like a downer? Like you're always feeling bummed out and that it is all so unfair and awful and painful and unjust? The worst part of it is that it can seem like the narcissistic person is just living the life of Riley and having a grand old time and making sure that they are living their best life. And you feel sort of stuck in feeling sad and anxious, and it doesn't feel good. Many survivors are afraid of healing. In a strange way, that healing for them can mean that if I heal or I'm feeling better, that maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought, or that other people might minimize what you went through. Like, well, it couldn't have been that bad. It looks like you're doing well. That people could say something like that to you. Or trauma bonding can mean that letting go of the negative emotion from the relationship really means that it's over. You know this damn well about me. I am not a fan of telling people out there and be positive, because it's not authentic, right? Being positive is a mindset, right? It's a switch in thought and belief. And sometimes you aren't ready for that. I get that. But what about just feeling joy when it passes through your day in small ways? The narcissistic person, whether they're in your life or already gone, they don't care that you're down. In fact, for the more malignant or mean ones, they're kind of glad that you're wrecked, because it means that they're good, you're bad, and either that means you won't leave them, or if you did, or they did, that they win because you're struggling and sad, and they're just so great, right? You don't want to give them that, but that's often how they think of it. They don't care. A huge part of healing is giving yourself permission for joy. Joy is not walking around saying affirmations about how great you are, or I am loved, or I have a vision board, or other grand experiences. That's not what it is. It's leaning into the small moments that happen in your life and giving yourself permission to enjoy them. Like laughing out loud because something was funny, or noticing something beautiful that's happening around you. A flower that's going through a fence, a clear starry night, cool rain on your face on a warm day, eating something delicious, moments of joy where you feel alive. It's just you and the joy, because that right there is how for a moment in time the narcissist doesn't win, because narcissistic relationships are joy stealers. While you are in them, there's so little joy because they take it all away. Narcissistic people have tremendous contempt for finding beauty in small moments. Kind of defies the entire premise of grandiosity. If the smell of jasmine on a warm night is enough to evoke joy, then their grandiose BS is a little bit extra, isn't it? In fact, a great way to keep the narcissist at the gate for a minute and not let them and their negativity in is to be a small moment joy feeler. While you are in this relationship, you know that in any narcissistic relationship, joy has to be on their terms. If they said it's time for fun, everyone has to have fun. And if they're having a bad day, then no joy for you. So when you are in the narcissistic relationship, joy is dictated when they say it. If you want to share the joy of a small moment with them, they often look upon it, like I said, with contempt. If you are able to get out of the relationship, finding joy in a small moment and not having it stolen reminds you that there is something outside of this relationship and more beauty than you thought. If you are stuck in the relationship or have ongoing contact with the narcissist and something joyful passes your eyes while you're in it, then you can enjoy it without sharing it and having that really beautiful moment in yourself, smiling to yourself, but keeping it private. All the years I've been doing therapy, I absolutely love watching survivors of narcissistic abuse and listening to them laugh. It reminds me that the trees do go green after the winter, and that the gray skies do eventually dissipate, even if it's just for a little while. Sometimes I watch them quickly catch themselves, as though there's something wrong about their unfettered laughter or moment of beauty. And my job as a shrink is to pull them back into that joyful moment and remind them to really feel it. Experiencing joy is an act of defiance if you are experiencing narcissistic abuse. It was taken away for so long that I can only liken it to letting in the light after you have been sleeping in the dark. You sort of squint for a minute. Survivors often stopped giving themselves permission for joy, as though staying in misery makes the pieces of the relationship fit, right? That damned cognitive dissonance again. How can you have joy when everything's so miserable? Joy is again an act of defiance, telling misery to go to hell and letting yourself feel that joyful moment. There is a point to this, because the more of it you do, the more joy feeling you allow yourself to do, the more permission you give to yourself to keep doing it. You become more practiced at seeking it out and reveling in it when you find it. It's a little bit like that Pokemon Go game where people look for the little animated things, but this is far better. You find it because it'll happen, and you let yourself enjoy it. It's like your soul waking up after a long sleep. It still feels good and not the heaviness of the constant rumination of the narcissistic relationship. Actually, paying attention to joy is almost like catching butterflies. It doesn't come easy, it's practiced. And it's a healing tool that you can use in your daily life. If we are all walking around like deer in the headlights and committed to our rumination and sadness and anger and self-blame, they win. And I am so damned sick and tired of the narcissist winning. They don't have empathy or compassion, so they don't get bogged down in other people's pain like we do. But we can slowly take our lives back by letting ourselves find that joy and goodness that is around us. And this is also something that post-pandemic we can also do too. I am still getting used to being in places and out in the world and driving around parts of my city that I haven't seen in a few years. Wonderment, joy, goodness, and those yummy moments that are out there, find them, be in them, let them envelop you. And in time, those stolen moments of joy will become a life again. We just need to stop letting the narcissistic people block the sun so we can start feeling its warmth again. Consider keeping a joy journal so you can jot those stolen moments down. The more of them you notice, the more of them that you have. I have to tell you that when I spend time, my personal time, with survivors of narcissistic abuse, I'm very much compelled to say, how can we really find the joy? Do we take the long drive home by the ocean or through the mountains? Do we stop and do I point and say, look at the hummingbird or look at the butterfly? I have to say, in doing this work, because this is really, really heavy work, I am much, much more aware of it. And I will sometimes, I'm just constantly hunched like this over a computer and writing and thinking and reading and all this other stuff. So I have to say that those moments of joy, sometimes when I've had a day that's been riddled with narcissistic abuse and I watch a show and I laugh out loud, I catch myself and I'm like, oh, you've still got it in you to give a big, deep laugh, Ramani. And that's a reminder. Many of you still have those deep laughs and that's so yummy, or wow, that's so beautiful. Pay attention to that. The moments are out there. Give yourself permission to take them in. And again, those of you interested in these deeper dives on healing, please go to the video notes, click on that link, and you'll get that information. Thanks again.